very, very competitive.
And this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. The story develops further, guys. The last time these two teams met, Exist won 7-1, right? Which that in itself is already a very one-sided result. The map they played on, Cafe. And what was the final map that got banned? It was Exist banning Cafe. So I have absolutely no idea, unless they themselves have just forgotten. Surely not. I don't believe that's the case. They have elected to go to Skyscraper instead of the very map that they beat this team on 7-1. So to be fair, that was a little bit a while ago. That was back of October, early October last year. But still something to think about in the back of the mind. Yim banned out along with Thermite as we head into the defender bans.
Intrigued to see what will get taken out. Probably expecting Valkazami. No, Kaid, okay. Intriguing. Probably to alleviate some of the pressure that will be on attack with the Thermite made unavailable. Ace and Haban now relied upon. Maverick not in the meta with Impact EMPs now in play, and Maverick losing his frag grenades. Last defensive ban secured by Donuts, Varrel, and it will be the Valkyrie. As anticipated, Valkyrie is still very strong. Keeping in mind, a long time ago now, the change was made that you can't even gather meaningful information outside with those cameras, but still she persists.
Yeah, on a map like Skyscraper, I think that makes a lot of sense, right? It's this sort of big windy map, a lot of different rooms, and entry is super, super important. So you don't necessarily need them on the outside. You probably want them just on the inside looking into those kind of entry positions. As we head into this one, it is Varrel. Technically still going by Donuts Varrel apparently in game. Of course, it's an interesting one. It's a rebrand apparently. For those unaware, of course, Varrel being Donuts USG, which was a very big organization in the Japanese region. So it's more of just a rebrand. Same org, same team. And for Exist, they've got themselves an opportunity. They're on the attack first. This is also a map that slightly favors 51%, guys. A whopping 51% attack sided here in the Japanese region. So it's nothing too crazy. And this is obviously on Skyscraper they're referring to. It does give them an opportunity maybe to start well. And it's kind of what I actually want to see, especially on a map like Skyscraper, which we've not seen so far for 2023. And what we've seen is a lot of teams struggle to attack. I think on a map like Skyscraper, you can really open up the map and have a good attacking half. So hopefully for Exist's sake, they can do that. We see Salty here, the pickup from Reject. I think a very good, strong pickup to complement the Core 4 from Exist.
Looking like a relatively direct approach here from the attack. Information over towards the main breach. And Ace again in exchange for a potential Thermite who was banned out by the attack. Rento playing contact over towards the T room. He'll be able to cut down on the drone economy as well. Rira looking to enter now with Buck. Establish a foothold on this side of the map. Just apply a little bit of pressure. The rest of the team can focus main breach while he gets to work through drum, through throne if he really persists. And that skeleton key good for cutting down rotation. Salty down below. Oh, he should have won that fight. DD man though, still on top. A single shot's worth of HP, and him staying alive is important. Of course, Solus can gain more information, can continue to chip away at the drones. A jump out, shut down. So it is back to a 4v4.
Wow, jump out from an Azami there. You lose those Kiba barriers now, which I think is going to be so important. I don't even know how Azami's made it through here on Skyscraper. I think it's one of their better maps. Azami can obviously play basically on every single map. But a fast start. Probably expecting that here on Skyscraper. Especially from what we saw on Clubhouse, the way that our previous two teams played. I think a lot of those, not on-site play, a lot of pushing out, extending, holding those big critical areas of entry earlier rather than later. Under a minute left though, time becomes a factor. So Rayra there just to the right hand side of the screen just gets tagged up a little bit on the Buck. Over towards drums, looking in, trying to find an angle. Long sight, not to be. And time's a factor here. Now with under 40 seconds left, 4 versus 4. They've got to get themselves a little bit closer here to sight.
Rento repositioning. Varrel cluttered inside of side in the 4 versus 4. 25 seconds on the clock. DD man low from the previous engagement. But Varrel looked to double down. Now with the advantage. Rotero is still flying out from Shifty. But that impact limited. Barriers perhaps now down, and that opens up the pathing for Marvi. A 3 versus 3 as he looks to advance forward, but cut down. V-Bort, well, he needs to find 3, and Varrel will shut down sight.
Yeah, not too bad. A little bit back and forth. Just kind of start with, yeah, jump out here. Some early contact. And tech pause already gets called out by Okamesh, so maybe a little bit of time here to dissect that a little bit. The Maverick, though, again, we saw it in our first series too, and you were a little bit perplexed by it, Gus, thinking it's just out of the meta at the moment, but Marby seems pretty content with bringing this one over to Skyscraper. Did we really see much success from it? Was it really that impactful? I don't really think so. And obviously there's going to be some concerns on a map like Skyscraper. You really do want to get those opening picks if you're the attacking team. Break up that defense a little bit. Try and deny them from holding those key positions late into the round. Credit to Donuts, credit to Varrel, whichever one you're going to call them. It's a good start to win that opening round. But I think, like our earlier match, I think it's going to be back and forth. I think these rounds will play out not so much based on the half and then switching. It will probably be that back and forth nature regardless of who's on what side.
We already saw in that first round some of the issues that Azami is presenting, and that was even with said Azami dying very early on into the piece. Flores in the hands of Shifty, still tasked with sending out Roteros, 20 seconds to go, trying to open up a couple more paths for the attack to navigate in towards site. And that issue only compounds the longer the Azami does stay alive, so something to keep in mind throughout this matchup. A lot of pressure on that Flores to get work done, much like we saw on Clubhouse. And as you flagged, Maverick as well, being shown here by the attack. Of course, as we make our way through this tech pause, there's room for that to change, whether that be in the pick phase or the ability to repick. But yeah, surprised that we're seeing pretty much any Maverick at all. I get it. It's a great counter against a Mute or a Bandit in this instance, but with Kaid banned out, Maverick no longer having grenades, certainly strikes me as a little bit strange, but if you can play around it as an attack, then so be it.
Everything that we're seeing from Varrel's side, though, probably a little bit more acceptable. It was interesting, actually. I think when we had our pre-match or pre-show discussion, I think you mentioned Mute as an operator that you probably wouldn't be expecting to see, and I can't help but have thought ever since you said that we've been actually seeing a lot of Mute, not just tonight, but in a lot of other regions. Do you want to take that comment back from earlier?
I'd have to look at the numbers. I'd have to look at the stats. I'd have to do some more additional research and get back to you in a timely fashion.
Well, we've got all the time in the world, apparently, at the moment. This might end up being a 30-minute tech pause for all we know. Obviously, communications are a little bit difficult, as everyone can evidently see. We are just kind of working off the Japanese broadcasting here, which makes it a lot of fun. If you want to learn Japanese, this is probably a good way to do so. As we do sort of only have just begun this game, it is a good time to probably reiterate, I think, some of the expectations on it, because obviously we kind of had the pre-match discussion and then a little bit of a break. You know, Donuts coming into this, I think, is the favored team. Boom, and just like that, 2 minutes goes by in the blink of an eye. Fortunately, back into this one, three hosts are over. And we head into the second round of this pretty important game. And Donuts, Varrel, and IGZIST. I don't really like saying, I'm not going to lie, Gus. Earlier today, I said must win Scars versus North Edge, and they did. It was in overtime, but they did. It feels surreal for the first game of a season that it's a must win, but that's kind of the reality, especially for these two. If either of these two lose this game, that's probably top spot Born in a group with Cyclops, and puts you then into the conversation of, okay, if you lose the next one to, say, Fnatic, you're fourth, you're out, you're done. So you win this and it's more of a relief.
Yes, you definitely want to put yourself in a favorable position heading into that bracket. Firstly, you want to find yourself in the bracket, because fighting for fourth will not be fun in a very competitive domestic region. There's certainly stakes on this one. And I'm sure, as I mentioned, Cyclops probably watching closely as well. Quick turnaround for some of these matchups. Nonetheless, though, Salty preparing to maybe jump in throne here, or at least pressure the window with Monty. Good position to cut off rotations. Cause a bit of chaos, maybe facilitate a play over towards the top of Black Stairs. That's commonly where you'll see the Montang enter. That southern side of the map. Lockerbie call rings out and a bit of ground will be taken. I like this early pressure from IGZIST, just lurking around. Use the Montang to gain information, feed that back to the rest of the team with yellow pings. Salty's on the karaoke rappel, so aggressing on Montang's tough as well. And while this Montang's walking around and again gathering information alongside drones, the rest of the team getting to work. Isha being opened up, pressure down below in kitchen as well.
Yeah, there's the Sophia as well that you said doesn't get played. So it all just comes back twice-fold. Sophia on one side, Mute on the other side.
I should have said
Rento and
doesn't get played anywhere, but in Japan.
Yeah.
Of course, Japan. They love playing everything.
Minute left in this one, second round. And maybe one of the more slower approached rounds that we've had so far today for the Japan League. Definitely can be the case, though, for a very defensive-minded Tea Room Karaoke. And the Montang on one side also means that you're not really going to be in a position where you're kind of leading with the guns out. You're just trying to have this little foothold battle. Are you? Sitting and waiting and seeing what he can find. Still 3 gas canisters available, 30 seconds left. That's a lot of time that can be denied.
Sure can, but needs to stay alive. Holes go both ways. He needs to be mindful that he doesn't get caught off guard. Diffuser still in the hands of the Montang now, pushing through into T. Akayu needs to get these smokes out, but there you go. Exposed for a fraction of a second and slain. Shield position, the Warden, Nitro to respond. Some plant to Nah, but it won't land. 2 versus 5, the retake too tough. And unfortunately, it's in the hands of Okamesh on the Azami, who's traded out and IGZIST. A slow wind up, but they make that push count.
Yeah, and it's the irony in that I said that it's not like it's a push that's got guns out. And what does the Montang do? Brings the pistol out and finds the opening kill. So, I mean, really, really well played. So IGZIST are on the board. They get an opening attacking round win in the first half. That will obviously do them a world of good confidence-wise on a map that we don't see too often. On a map that obviously Varrel has had good recent success on. You know, you think about where these two teams are at. And I said earlier in our pre-show discussion, sort of Donuts one step above IGZIST, like just one tiny little, you know, if Donuts are 4th, IGZIST are 5th, and that kind of nature of it. And when it's that close, really just comes, especially the best of one, it just comes down to on the day who's just performing a little bit better. Are the shots landing? Are the things, you know, you're playing well. And I thought IGZIST played that round really well. Slow room push. Tea Room Karaoke with the top stairs control with the Montang. We've seen it before. And they played it well. Didn't worry too much about the fact that the time was dwindling. And then in the end, actually, Donuts were the ones that really started peaking a little bit and started getting a little bit antsy on the defense. And that might have led to their downfall. So good start from both teams. Of course, it feels like a while ago that we saw Donuts win the opening round on Exhibition and Office, but 1-1.
Double hard breach employed here from IGZIST, so that Mav Ace combination coming out. Get to work. Office across. Buck to kick things off though, no reinforcement on the office double. Okamesh spotted, falls back. Shut down though, Salty sharp. Very small window to find that kill and manages to connect. Now be live drone forward. That'll be terrace lost. Drum close to follow, but I think that's being contested. Pressure already here on Varrel.
Yeah, and the Azami can't be in that kind of position. Azami's got to be your lockdown defender sitting in key critical positions, keeping areas like drums under control. There's keeper barriers, locking off these areas of the map. Obviously, you've got one still there. You probably want the Azami playing in that position rather than Rento. So I feel like Donuts have just maybe got their wires crossed a little bit on the defense. Definitely fixable as the half goes on. You just can't have your Izami running around those keeper barriers. The longer you stay alive, the more you get. So it pays to be alive towards the latter stages of the round. Minute and a half remaining. Salma out from B-Bort. One obviously going to be denied. Bandit there on Caillou. Interesting lineup though. Castle, Bandit, Smoke, Legion. What year is this?
We've entered a time machine. It's 2019 all over again. There's no catches though. No Jaeger, no Wamai, so we don't have to worry about watching 25 flashbangs get spammed into a room. So that's nice. But we might see a good contest here over towards Geisha. Caillou, Nitro. Oh, that could be on point. That's damage. Oh, that does even more. Marvy's head taken clean off. Ace still outside. V-Bot could have potentially traded, but delays it. And Caillou now in an advantageous position. 40 seconds to go in this round, still a 4v4.
Final 30 seconds left in this third round. Salty's been a key piece for Exist so far since the rehost. 2-0. Caillou wins the fight through the window against V-Bot, who had been just sort of lingering and loitering. Ray just finally just goes, pushes forward, skeleton key in hand, and binds the kill. 3 versus 3, heading into red time. And it feels like, again, it's probably up to Salty to maybe make that drop, try and find that entry kill over towards site. Sitting on site, though, is DD. With the SMG-11, finds another one. There's no time left at all, though, for Salty to get that diffuser down. Time, in the end, was a big factor. They really let it run out.
Yeah, it took quite a while to establish that control on office side of the map, and once it was, Geisha then an issue sold out initially by the Bandit, and then a Caillou able to double down and find some picks. Once that momentum was halted, the defense just bunkered down. The likes of DD not exposing on site didn't give Exist an inch, and on that first rotation, the defense just edging out. But I think we've set the scene for a pretty competitive match. Both teams truly in it. And we'll see whether or not Exist can start to climb their way back into it. The one thing I think that has been letting Varrel down has been the utilization of the Izami thus far. If they could tidy that up, keep those barriers in play for longer and in more influential positions, then Exist are really going to have some trouble on their hands.
Early days, though. Yeah, it's that 50-50 kind of map, but also depends on really the playstyle of the respective teams. Exist might just perform a little bit more marginally better on the defense. See how it goes. Back over to Office Exhibition, though, for the second time around, now into the fourth round. To me, there's a sense of similarity to our first match, Scars North Option, where I feel like both teams content right now. 2-1. Obviously, Exist would rather be the 2 rather than the 1, but the way that they're playing, it's clean. They really look like they understand what they're doing. They don't look like they're just running around without a plan. I can honestly confidently say that for all 4 teams that we've watched so far. It's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure. The Maverick has, yeah, definitely been interesting, and obviously that they're not looking to listen to your thoughts, Gus, as to maybe what operators are meta.
Japan is its own meta. But that's, I think, what makes it so entertaining at times. It's often been a strange brand of Siege, and it's only fresh to watch. 2 minutes on the clock, though. Marvy on rappel, single wall. In towards that top stairs. Our stairs position. Defenders elsewhere, loitering at drum. Rira will probably play contact on that in a moment. Just establishing a foothold in Geisha. He needs to be a little bit careful. Line of sight established. Contested inside of drum. It's a 1-1 split on either half of the map here for Varrel. Caillou again back on the Bandit, denying single wall. And so far, this defense looking solid. Okamesh, though, he's thrown his life a couple of times, but this may be a very good play. Deep inside of Geisha. Looked stabbed from behind.
No one here yet, though. 2 stab. I think he's a little bit confused. There's obviously one.
There's one in the hallway.
Hallway. Yeah, one in the hallway, and he hasn't seen it. And
That
now the
drone-
Rotero goes out from Shifty, so obviously would have that sound cue. I think Okamesh at this point is already happy to just sit here. Still 55 seconds plus left in this round. They're going to eventually push past him. He's aware of that. He can then come in behind and I think catch probably 2 or 3 off guard, pushing over towards that drums position late. So he's been able to sneak into a position, hasn't been caught, won't get droned out, and then should catch them off. And eventually does get rid of Shifty. Now, you get that kill, but obviously they're kind of aware that there's a player eventually will be behind them now. But there's only 30 seconds left. Now you're kind of caught in 2 minds if you exist. So either way, massive win here for Varrel because of Okamesh's little roam.
And Rira didn't spot him inside of T, at least not initially, but does on the second engagement. Really find the kill, he does. It's a good pinch. Exists now with the advantage. 15 seconds on the clock.
And Kowal probably compounding it along with Rento. 2 versus 2. There's just not much time. Again, 2 rounds in a row, but a big kill from Marvi. And get this plant down. Rento is low on health, not close to stopping this one. So a classic 1v1. Never mind, as soon as Marvi gets it down, pops up, finds the kill. We'll see it here in the kill cam. Immediately. That was sharp, that was clean, that was quick. And Exist find their second round.
Very well played. Always challenging to get that diffuser on the deck, adjust your aim in time to quickly flick up and find the kill. Made it look easy though. Solid attack despite that roam, or that flank rather, from Okamesh. If he was just in a slightly different position inside of T, he probably could have done a lot more. Probably would have helped his team win the round. Nonetheless, not meant to be. As we head in now to round number 5. And again, a very competitive game thus far. We'll see Exist double down with their double hard breach setup. Understandably, the floor is still in play. That's to counter the Azami. Oryx as well now, being doubled in by DD. So a lot of threats again here on that roam, on that flank. That Exist just need to tidy up on a little bit.
Yeah, and it's again, how similar is it to our first match on Club? Back and forth, 1-for-1. Now it's a 2-2 game. And it was kind of around this point, North Epsom won a couple of those 50-50s in a row. And they got out to that 4-2 lead. And you win the first of the next half, suddenly it's 5-2. So very quickly, it can break open. Every round's so important. Aggressive hold from Rento, and he pays for it. Little tag. Honestly, could have been worse, but Srio's that off.
All that reinforcement now will be compromised. Sun was in the hands of Vbot. Okamesh is alongside to assist Rento here on this little extension. And they'll be trying their best to stall out this attack. Drones will now follow up. See what's clear, what's not. One of the weaknesses of that Maverick is being countered by impact grenades. Marvi, though, doesn't take too much damage from that one. Exist now have good information. And I'm sure they'll be wanting to get boots on the ground ASAP. That will be headed by Salty. This isn't a Gemini, this is him live. He'll now drone himself forward to the terrace.
Yeah, and definitely noticing that we're seeing a little bit more controlling for the attacking teams in terms of the way that they're pushing in. They're not hurrying in. They're not just sort of, you know, coming in a sort of hastily fashion. Happy to take their time, happy to play the drone game. And those drones aren't really getting shot out either. So they're even being very cautious with those drones, happy to push slowly. But with that comes time. And that's the only criticism I would have so far, is I think compared to our earlier series, time management so far from Exist, they really don't give themselves much. It's a lot of red time pushes that we're seeing, a lot of red time plants, a lot of red time action to sort of finalize the round. Minute left. Like, you know, you can only sit on this rappel for so long. At some point, you got to go and make a move. You know, the blowtorch or the Maverick takes a little bit of time. You got to do it right. You got to break the wall. So those have been the tipping points for me that I've sort of noticed. And yeah, if Donuts keep doing this, where they take that step forward, they go for that counter punch, and they get that opening kill in the round. Suddenly, it's 40 seconds left, 5v4, and they're all on site. What do you do to break that down? Time is not your friend here.
I think Isha's getting open. Doesn't look promising. That Maverick, in all worlds of her, Trying to get that wall open. DD man does fall though. So there's a weakness inside of Isha, but the trade's on point. Okamesh, well, he overswings 3 versus 3. Kawao now in the 2v3. 15 seconds. Marvin progresses forward. May look for a plant over towards Karaoke.
Oh my.
Oh. Now left all alone, isolated. No smoke canisters left. The SFG in hand. Position known. Well, it's a trade, but favourable to exist. Here, close out the round.
Yeah, and it's it's such a fascinating round. Sometimes Siege can be so complicated that it's also simple. You know, you're trying to get this Geisha wall open, you're trying to use the blowtorch, you're trying to get positioning, and then it's not working, and then they get the opening kill, and suddenly it's a bit stressful. 40 seconds left. Screw it, let's just push in and get kills. And it works. It's just you just chop through the window, pick a double kill up, suddenly it's 3v3, then it's a 3v1, and you've won the round. And you've done all that prep, you've done all that droning, you've done all that meticulous approach and slow caution. Basically nothing, because in the end, you had 30 seconds left, you had to rush on site and get kills anyway. So it's an interesting game sometimes at that, but I think that's the nature of Skyscraper. Skyscraper at its best is defending teams, being aggressive at those entry positions, making it difficult to get map control, and then falling back to site. And therefore, it doesn't feel like the attackers are doing much, but in reality, they're just kind of dealing with that pressure from the defenders. We saw that with Rento, for example, with the office run out at the start. Like those little peaks, then Rio it off. Like you're putting the pressure on early, fair play. And obviously Exist are not going to just rush in and not clear corners properly and not drone properly. So 3-2, suddenly things look a lot better. Scoreboard does wonders for confidence. Final round of the half. And we'll see whether or not Exist can extend this one out to 2-4.
Barbecue defense here for Varrel to close out the half. Often an intriguing objective to watch play out, and I think specifically in this one where Exist are having issues getting Geisha control, that may change their plan in this round, or may hamper their ability at least to get control up above if that's what they want. We'll have to wait and see though. There is pressure up above from the defense. Akayu tasked with holding Geisha. He's got the bandit. Salty to enter and terrace. Good little pinch here, and might be able to catch Akayu off guard. Well, no, he's already fallen. Not sure who got that down, but favourable for the attack nonetheless. Wall now being worked on. Defenders on site now scattering around to make sure they're not getting caught off guard from the vert. B-Bot confirms the pick up above, and now Exist can really get their teeth into this attack.
Yeah, and I like the way they're sort of just moving around the map, getting that good upper pressure.
Oh, you gotta be careful of T.
Rento, though, that is a wonderful shot. Ekes out, finds the kill, and that is a much needed one too.
Ooh.
And finds a second. So Marby falls. There goes the hard breach. Your only hard breach of the round as well. Finally, Salty will shut down Rento from having a little bit too much fun. Minute 20 though, time. So this round sped up a little bit. This is probably more from what I expect, especially off the back of our first game back on Clubhouse earlier. 3v3, minute 20, you know, the pace has picked up a little bit, you know, a bit of vert control. So it's not so much just on-site presence. Really well played from Rento. 2 for 1 in the end. Exist, of course, have kept it as a 3 versus 3. Oh, wow, okay, it's for an interesting pick on the castle and has to eventually fall back. Ray are trying to push through, take this position. The other side of Bar now is where he's being held. That's a good shot. Who's played that really well on the castle.
Was flash, but able to get away into safety, then pops up. Good timing. Salty for the plant. But a futile effort. A 1 versus 3. Oh, maybe? Varrel, don't know. It's going down. Just keeping it alive here is Salty. If he can find some engagements, but none present. DD to get the kill. And at the end of the half, it's going to be a 3-3 scoreline.
Yeah, and I think probably our first game should have been a 3-3 at the half as well. I mean, I think both games have just been so even. It's the beauty of this league. If you want uncertainty, if you want games where anyone can win, this is the league for you. This is the Japan League is seriously that close, that contested, and that fun to watch because of it. I won't name names, but a league that starts with O certainly did not have that to start week 1. Does?
Let me think of all the leagues in the world that start with O. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Not quite as close. I think we had 14 rounds casted in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
And we
So
had
those to start.
15 rounds in our first game here for Japan, so already a slight improvement. We went from one extreme to the other. Imagine we go from 14 rounds, so 2 7-0s, to 30 rounds. We have an 8-7 into an 8-7. That would be funny.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Salty onto the Zami, so to start the second half, who was basically the fragger, obviously the first half. Interesting role. Again, when I think of a Zami, I like to think of that sort of hard anchor in a position, throwing out keeper barriers, staying alive. I don't know if I want Salty playing that. I feel like I would rather Salty running around and gunning. Like on a, position that I think you don't mind if he dies. Like if he goes hunting, tries to find 1 or 2 but falls, that's fine. But on a Zami, I don't know if that's ideal.
Yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. Drone work down below inside reception here from the ace. Not quite sure what the attack's cooking up. The way to see. Should set up in the hallway for Shifty. Something I haven't seen before, perhaps to negate some pressure top lag. You are protected, I think, largely from that karaoke rappel. Spotted out though by Okamesh. You can tuck that drone away now inside of T. Very nice. The rappel game from Varrel at the moment doing a good job in cutting down crosses, finding a bit of damage as well. Rearus, Shifty, both taken low. And the pre-placed drones here from Varrel, able to cut off lots of rotations here from the defense.
Definitely curious to see how Varrel's going to play this. Their own attack now, especially the time management of it. So like Tea Room Karaoke, you can play a little bit to the time factor, but playing from below, it just sits in barbecue, will drone out. And they will obviously try to clear below to the top. Eventually look to push up. Other than more of that horizontal take. There's still a rappel in the window, keeping them honest on sight. Minute left though, and still only some tags onto some of the defending members. Shifty low, Hamer as well. That's it. No real hard engagement. Didi getting a really good peek down the hallway and probably sensing those footholds are not quite being watched. He's got himself into a good position now. Probably catch a defender off guard on a cross, not being aware that that position is now being watched. 2 fall very quickly. And Donuts have themselves a really good advantage. They can get that diffuser down. Wow, with a good headshot. Well, it's clean. It's flawless from Donuts Varrel to start the second half. They take the lead once again.
Yeah, just no real resistance there from the defense. It felt like the entries were relatively uncontested. The rappels weren't being contested either. And Varrel, to their credit, just slowly chipped away throughout that round. They got a little bit of ground here, a little bit of ground there. And with the information they had, they weren't too concerned about flanks, bit of information on site as well. Pretty sure they had a drone up on karaoke and another inside of T. So then they weren't as concerned about some of those footholds and angles because they knew they weren't contested. Able to then isolate favourable picks, win them out, and find themselves in this position now with the lead. Also see them now shift their composition significantly for round 8. Okamesh on to Montang, and Glads as well is going to get some playtime.
You don't often see Glads, but there is typically a map that he does make his foray into. It probably is Skyscraper. Once again, Salty on the Izami. Didn't really see the impact of it. Shifty's made their way over onto the mirror. 4-3 scoreline. Donuts looked very good in that opening attacking round of the second half. Wow, just was going to open up that wall. I think has done so. There is a mute jammer in and around that area though from Marvi. And getting a little bit antsy. Probably wants to peek this. There is a drone there. They're trying to just deny some of this information. Coming in towards office. Keep a barrier out from Salty.
Late mirror window up now from Shifty. Just deny some of that control through terrace and make it a little bit more challenging for the attack. The attack though, they're focused elsewhere towards main breach, and Marvy does have a run out. Although I will elect not to use it just yet. Drone confirms his position, so he now needs to be a little bit more careful, a little bit more conscious as to when he does decide to run out. This round just very much slowing down the pace. Varrel need to be careful that they don't get stalled out too hard. Not too sure what the progress on the breach has been. I think it has angles open, but it's a weird one. I want to see this Glaz now come alive. Yeah, breach confirmed to be open. Now we sort of sit and wait. Can the Glaz get these smokes out? Can the Glaz perhaps get an opening pick, or maybe even two, to alleviate some pressure here, because the defense looks super strong.
Time a factor now as well. When you think about a site like Tea Room Karaoke, it plays out pretty similar to probably a bar cocktail from Cafe. Really make that entry into site very late with the round. It's those initial points of contact that are so vital. That's why Marvy keeps wanting to just try and swing this angle, see if he can find someone. He had a chance. Honestly, had he stuck to it, might have just found the opening kill. Okamesh loses his life now to Rayra, and it starts to go astray here for Donuts, because IGZIST basically just stops wanting to sit back, wanted to get on the front foot. Rento on the Glaz in a 2 versus 4 as Vborg gets rid of his side man in DD. He falls too. The Glaz cannot make an impact. Really good counterpunch from IGZIST late into that round. They got a little bit impatient and decided to just go for the kill themselves.
Yes, quite a strange dynamic in that round. I think the attack there in Varrel perhaps just struggling to get much value out of the breach being opened up at a decent timestamp. Their progress elsewhere was halted quite nicely. We saw that Zami in play, barriers causing problems. And IGZIST doing a good job to lock down the site. We now go over towards Barbecue. Seems to be what these Japanese teams are favouring, as opposed to maybe going towards Bedroom, which I know some other regions would lean into a little bit more. Still though, a viable site. We're going to see the castle employed again here. From IGZIST. Place those barricades to lock off some lurk points. There's plenty of opportunities for the attack to sneak their way into sight, or maybe be a little bit more explosive. And we're going to see Dockerby in play. Finker as well for Adrenal Boost. That's an operator we don't see much at all. So again, Japan dabbling in unseen territory. And Akayu, of course, can't look past him on the blitz, looking to cause some chaos in this round.
And it really just, it feels like anyone's game, doesn't it? Hard to sort of envision who's going to be able to sort of break away. It feels like Donuts sometimes. Okay, they're starting the second half well with a nice clean attack, and you think, okay, maybe they can gain some separation, and then IGZIST fight back with a really solid defensive round. Doesn't have that feeling of like these teams losing rounds. It just feels like who's winning these rounds. Donuts in the opening round of the second half. IGZIST just them prior. Solid defense. It's not a matter of who's playing more poorly. It's just a matter of who's playing better. That's really what you like to see. Oh, a little bit of an entry here from DD. Now he's been able to just slip in over towards bar side, get the pick onto Salty. I think they've caught them off guard here. Shifty gets one back onto Caillou. At least that kind of just salvages things, because it could have got really bad. It might still. Shots go out, ringing around the map here. 3 versus 3 time. A lot of it still remaining, but really good presence close to sight now for Donuts.
Okamesh. Just watching the bottom Black stairs rotation needs to be mindful. Barbecue could swing him. V-board up above. Navi as well. A pause in the action. 70 seconds to go. Rento still on rappel over towards the Geisha double window. The attack does not have the diffuser in hand at this point. That was dropped. So a 3 versus 3. DD man though, he's still alive of course. He started this round and he's looking to finish it. Shifty falls. 60 seconds on the clock.
Feels like the first real 50-50 round in the half. In the second half, first two clean from both teams. These are the rounds you've got to be winning. You're going to take this best of one, a critical and much needed best of one for either of these two. 30 seconds remaining and it comes to stairs and Okamesh got the initial peek and shot onto V-Bort. Now it's a 3 versus 1. I mean, V-Bort was never even in the fight. He wasn't even looking down the stairs. DD will finish off what he basically started, guys, with his initial infiltration. Pushing in over towards site. That was a clean round from DD. It got a little bit scrappy towards the middle portion, but he manages to also finish it off. 5-4, Donuts edging out. And judging by what I can see, it might be a tactical timeout coming the way of Exist.
I didn't know you could read Japanese. You can't?
I definitely
you're just
cannot.
guessing?
Well, you know, I saw the observer, you know, I put 2 and 2 together. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just born different.
Built different too. Yeah, DD allowed to sneak in there. A little bit concerning. I thought that, especially with Castle on the board, that probably wouldn't be possible, but he made it work. Cracked open the round, good control. Barbecue then on lockdown. Defenders isolated up above. Slowly but surely, through that mid to late portion of the round, the attack able to then gather just enough information to facilitate a couple more plays. Help them get that round across the line. And this match continues to grind along as teams are trading rounds back and forth.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It seriously has, but fun for us, probably not so much for these teams. Really in the thick of it. And obviously for Exist, this is where now you cannot allow them to get away. And we go bedroom, bathroom. Not a site that I think we typically would see potentially in other regions. I mean, to be fair, map we don't typically see in other regions. It's kind of just where we find ourselves. And Donuts re-picking aggressively here as well. Completely different lineup coming out from them. They're going to go double hard breach along with Bontang. Off the back of this site choice.
Yeah. Quite intrigued that we are seeing this side of all the options available here to Exist.
Ooh. Last second switch up, so no double hard breach. They bring the Yana onto Kawau. Opportunity to go match point. Two teams that I would probably have firmly equal here in Group B. Opportunity to get one over the other is so critical. Again, only play 3 matches in this group stage before moving on to the knockout stage. Or if you're in that 4th place, you have to play in basically the opens.
Specchio looking out.
Solace gaining information on her scanner. Can spot drones amongst other important pieces of information, where players are droning, fuses being planted, etc. Marvy playing bot house stairs as well, just making sure no one can sneak through, and Rento looking to do exactly that. Currently positioned over towards reception. He can use his hard breach in towards bathroom once he opens up this doorway through delivery. But we'll need to be mindful of his flank. The rest of the team, I presume, is trying to get to work upstairs. Because of course, even if you get control in towards side, if you don't contest up above, that vertical presence is going to make a plant very, very challenging.
Minute and a half remaining. Shifty, just trying to sort of shoulder peek this one a little bit. Not fully committing. Droned out. 2 drones remaining as well, guys, with a minute 20 left. So there's a heavy, heavy emphasis on the droning for both of these teams on their respective attacks. And it's going to be Larby that gets the opening kill. So that's the Montang down. And anytime a team will bring a Monty, it's such a large part of the win condition as to how they want to play the round, how they want to achieve victory in the round. And so for the Montang to be the first death, that has to be such a detrimental death. Nade out from Kawao. 50 seconds. Now down a player. Exist on the defense, looking to bring this back to a 5-5, to an even scoreline. They're in a good position to do so. It's essentially just going to have to be a rush on site for Donuts and hit your shots. That's the kind of round it will finish in. They get 1, they'll get 2. We've seen it be successful for both teams so far on this map. Shifty now as well gets 1, and suddenly, after Donuts brought it back, Exist are able to get some really crucial shots to go their way. Over towards VIP side, Salty loses his life. So once again, now it's Donuts. It swings and roundabouts.
15 seconds to go.
It's round for round. It's kill for kill. And suddenly into red time, Kayu just has to stick it. Is Rento watching this? Shifty, does he have a good angle? He does indeed. The head is sticking out like a sore thumb. No time at all for Rento to get it and stick it. Well, he does, but it has to be in the same position. Got off it anyway. It's 5-5.
Great vertical denial there from the defense. Unfortunately for Varrel, just unable to clear up above. They were so close. It came down to a 1v1 over towards Terrace, and the Mirror won it out. It would have been a very different round. They win that pick. They go for the plant. They don't have to worry about the vert. And it would have been an awkward retake for the defense. It exists. They cling on. Even out the scoreline once more. We head into the 11th round, 5-5 apiece. Back now to a more traditional site on Skyscraper. The Mirror, though, will persist. Zali back into the fray as well. So the util is going to be critical, and I think if Okamesh is going to stick this Montang repick, they need to be ultra careful that they preserve that win condition. You lose the Montang, as you mentioned, as a huge part of the plan that just gets thrown out the window. It's not impossible to win the round, but it certainly makes things a lot more challenging.
Yeah, it does. It's really not ideal. The Glaz, guys, not a fan. I'm not a fan. Last time we saw this, of course, as well, it basically came down to the Glaz. And it was sort of like, well, I mean, is a Glaz going to win a 2v4? Doesn't really matter who the other one on the team is at that point. It's just not really going to happen. So if you're going to bring this kind of lineup, you're bringing it for a reason. You've got something in your back of your mind. It's like a set play, if you will. Where you would have a set play out of a timeout. Glaz, the Montang, got yourself an idea as to how this round is going to play out. Can they execute it, though? That's the question. Well, so far we've seen at least both of these two teams have had really good success in executing, but they lose the Glaz. They lose one part of the puzzle. They might lose the second here as well. The nades onto Okamesh. Rayward just goes running like a madman. But he didn't find the second. He got at least a little bit of damage onto Okamesh, but he finds the kill onto Glaz. 1 for 1.
Yeah, a little bit sloppy there from the attack, allowing the Wamai to get the first pick, but critically traded. And again, Wamai has regenerative utility, so his impact in the round now has been significantly lessened. And positions like Salty will be compromised as there's no catch now here. And if there is, there might be one magnet, if he's lucky, 2. Kawao, if he was to play that position, could send in 2 nades, but he's occupied elsewhere, down below in delivery. I don't believe there's any defenders in these positions, which actually might be a good thing. You can then prepare for vertical nades from below.
It's not often you see in a lobby the player with the most deaths have also the most kills in the lobby. Of course, should add there was a rehost after the initial opening round, but what's 1 round out of 11? So just over a minute left. It's Rento. on the Dockerby with DMR. Finds a kill onto Salty. Should get a second here, or at least a big chunk of damage. A little bit into Shifty. Just under a minute left. Now Kawau on a battle over towards stairs. That's going to be a big win against Vport, who I think might have been prone. But every time Donuts get one, they lose two elsewhere. Now it's a 2 versus 2, and Kawau is low. Okamesh is low. But Kawau to nade finds the kill onto Mavi. So Shifty's low too. They're all just falling apart. One on stairs, and it is going to be the low HP Montang pistol out. And somehow the round is won. That was one of the scrappier ones that we've seen between these two teams so far on Skyscraper, but who cares? Donuts have match point.
A little bit messy, but that Montang win condition eventually does come through. Varrel with match point. IGZIST going barbecue. What may be their final defensive effort in this match. Certainly the last of the half, whichever way it goes. Last time we saw DD entry on the Dockerby, straight through restaurant, causing a lot of issues, forcing a retake. And then that vertical pressure up above from IGZIST just wasn't quite enough, and Varrel able to maneuver their way into a round win. We'll see how this one plays out. Echo shotgun in hand. Nook being repicked by DD, so probably again going for a lurk entry. Brava also getting repicked, so there's a lot going on in this round, a lot to digest. And certainly going to be an intriguing one to play out. Okamesh could well hack some important utility here. Default cameras, obviously a great shout, but Shifty needs to be really careful with those yokais as well.
We see a second overtime game in a row start the Japan League 2023. Would be fitting, of course. I think it's the same kind of case as we had on the first map. Where these two teams are very even, very close contest, back and forth nature. 1 for 1 here and there. It doesn't matter what side they're on, attack, defense. It's just round for round. That last round, though, probably been the scrappiest of the bunch. Now, I think Salty is hoping here that drone's done a drive-by and missed him completely. Tries to clear out potential drone position inside of the plants, but Rento manages to keep that drone alive. Does not get destroyed.
Oh,
A DD, man, the Nook gets caught out by Mavi.
he was almost out too. Just got tagged at the finish line. V-Bot also to find a pick. And it's looking increasingly likely that this game will be going to overtime, barring a comeback here. Rento. Oh, Rento just cleans up inside of restaurant. That's 2 picks out of nowhere. Diffuser still up above in the hands of Akayu. But there's time to work with here for Varrel.
Yeah, plenty. 4 drones as well, still available. And you know, if you need the hard breach, you've got 1 more Salma still available. You can obviously have that. Think about 1 Rotero left. Utility's definitely still there. A couple of flashes too, 5 in fact. So you can kind of overwhelm the site. Enter making the push now through VIP. That will be the final call. Nothing too close by. So sound queue not going to be quite received, but I mean, they knew they were going to be on site. That's a big shot though from Rayra. No response either. You know, typically we've seen in these rounds where if one falls somewhere, another one is gained elsewhere to at least offset it. But Rento and Caillou just not in a position to find a quick kill back. Rayra still aggressive, and the ping, the initial shot, the headshot onto Rento. This one's going OT again. They're going to have to split the points. No one's walking away with 3. We head to overtime for the 2nd game in a row to kickstart the Japan League.
And despite the best efforts there from the Dockerby, Varrel is falling at that final hurdle. IGZIST able to fight their way back into this game. Overtime we go, the roles will persist, so Exist will kick things off on the defense. Pause and response. Perhaps one of these teams deciding now it's time for a tactical before they enter overtime.
I think the real winner out of this might actually end up being Fnatic. Team in this group that, you know, probably around the same level as these two. And now that neither of them can get 3 points, I mean, that gives you, honestly, I think a really good position to be in later on in the season as it plays out for the group stage. But evidently, I think what we've seen so far, and, you know, only 2 games in, this is going to be a very competitive league. We knew that coming into it as well. We knew that you can have results that maybe you don't expect. You're going to have results that you do expect, but it's going to be close. They're going to be competitive. There's not really going to be those whitewashes, and it'll probably happen somewhere along the lines. We'll get a 7-1 here or there. But there's so much on the line, and these are best of ones that matter. You just can't afford to get belted. You can't afford to have a bad game. So timeout over. Overtime begins. 6-6. Exist on the defense still. We'll get attacking once again. I think this honestly will go to the 15th round again. I would probably tip that, Gus.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be too surprising, to be honest. Clash now in play for Exist. So we are well and truly getting a full spectrum of operators tonight. And we're only in the second game, so who knows what's in store for the 2 to follow. Clash can be quite tricky to deal with, especially with Zofia largely being outside of the meta. We have seen some Zofia though already in this game, but not repicked on this occasion. Instead we'll see 4 nades to deal with that Clash, and the damage from the Glaz as well may come in handy.
Yeah, I wonder if Salty's just feeling like it's not working for me today. 3 and 7. Tried to frag out, tried to get a few kills, didn't quite work. Okay, let's just revert back to something a bit more defensive minded, set up a decent position to make it hard to push through, and then let others kind of shoot around me, because everyone else is basically on 8 kills except for Rayra on 12. So I wonder if that's maybe a bit of critical thinking from Exist, or if it's just sort of pre-planned anyway, regardless of Salty's current performance. Regardless, we'll see if it works out. And yeah, the Glaz again. So this is the 3rd time we've seen the Glaz, and I haven't seen it be successful once.
Okamesh just lurking outside Samurai window. Needs to be mindful. Probably best that he makes a play late into the round off the back of a call. We're now back towards site. There is pressure down below. Grenades in play. Rent over the first. Unsuccessful. Probably needs a bit of information for the second, unless he's just aiming at default spots. The second, well, also doesn't land. Keep in mind, Clash is up, so grenades were a very useful piece of utility, and now Varrel have none left.
Yeah, and this Glaz has got to stop though, and they might run out of rounds. Obviously, they're not going to be able to attack again in the next round. So if they manage to get this to a 15, pick Glaz, please. Oh, Okamesh didn't actually get the down. I think he thought he did. I think he thought that he got the down onto Marvi. Marvi goes prone, survives, gets the shot back, literally on the ropes. He lands him with a big counter punch, and suddenly Exist will go up. Overtime match point. Oof. Wow. It's deja vu, guys. It is utterly deja vu for our first game today.
I cannot believe that Frost did not die. I thought the Frost was down, and then I quickly gazed over at the HP, and I was like, wait. Oh my. What a play. And it was actually a pretty big play at that. Really just shut down any opportunity for the attack to get back into that round with a bit of sight control. Still would have been tough. Clash up, Nitro below. Nonetheless, though, an impressive effort.
Well, this is the position North Epsom were in, right, where they were able to force it to go to overtime. So we obviously saw originally Scars had Original match point, lost it. Okay, Northeption then got overtime match point, lost it, and then Scars won. Does that play to the same script? Is there only one script in the Japan League? Is it close contest, back and forth, overtime, 15th round? I don't think anyone would care about that one. I think I'll be happy to see another close game come to a standstill finish in a league that, you know, the beauty of these best of ones, they matter. They really do. You know, if you have a league where you're playing like 20 games, you kind of lose the validity of the importance of those rounds. Massive round here for Varrel IGZIST on the verge of taking them down once again. Last time it was a little bit more simple. It was a 7-1 victory on Cafe in the back half of the Japan League last year. This one has gone the distance. And it's a double hard bridge setup once again. They go with the Maverick.
They've had mixed success with the hard breach so far, so it's critical that IGZIST make sure they nail it this time. Again, an extension from Varrel up above, near drum and throne. Default cameras also feeding information. Harvey has gotten to work on this single wall, and now Ace can come across with Salmers, the pre-fire as well. An impact in response to try and deny an entry point on that wall. I don't think it was successful, so
no.
IGZIST with a slight advantage at the moment.
It's so minimal. I would even call it really an advantage at all. 15 Ray are looking to play off of each other here. First point of contact so important. You can get those opening kills and just really give themselves an advantage, relieve some pressure. Maybe if you're Donuts Varrel, like if Varrel lose the first two players in this round, it's mentally difficult to come back from. Good pressure from below though from IGZIST, just keeping that vert pressure. Salty has struggled a little bit in this game, but is a good player, formerly from Reject. This is potentially his time to maybe get a crucial couple of kills and win the round and win the game for IGZIST.
Minutes ago, information being gathered. Bit of pressure at throne. I thought maybe Rento would go for a play, but just holding back for now. Okamesh down below. There is a player in bathroom. On the other side of the wall to his right, you can see the outline. Okamesh doesn't know that though, and well, he'll rotate back towards main. 30 seconds now available. And I think Varrel should be able to lock this out, barring Salty maybe finding a pick on the vert, but he doesn't. Needs to be careful now. Okamesh about to swing, lands the shot, and that's Varrel with the advantage.
Yep. And there's not much time either now for IGZIST. Okamesh just sitting inside of the smoke. Flash goes out, avoids it. Not blinded at all. Good shots, got a good tag. V-Bort loses his life as well. Trades can go out there for IGZIST. And Marvy just pushes straight in. Doesn't matter about the goo mine at all. Rento holds behind the keeper barrier. Again, time is a factor. Marvy can't get the plant down because he's dead. This one will go the distance. It will live up to the expectations that were put on it by Scars and Northeption. And like them, this does also go the distance to the 15th round.
Out of a possible 30 rounds so far here for Japan League 2023, well, we are going to see 30 rounds. That is insane. And again, much like the game prior between Northeption and Scars, it is deserving of going to the 15th. Very competitive, very back and forth. Certainly a little bit more questionable maybe with some of the compositions we're seeing and some of the picks, but looking at it from the glass half full perspective, it is keeping things fresh, so that's good. An extension here from IGZIST, karaoke defense of course. Mirror being used all the way on the other side of the map. So we'll see how Varrel plays into it.
Yeah, and no Glaz, so really good call here from Donuts. Gotta win it. Can't just sort of rely on some sort of gimmick play with a Glaz or a Montaigne. Gotta go out, gotta win it, gotta play a bit more conventional in their attack. The defense has been great, it's got them here. Question is now for Exist themselves. Okay, you know, you won your last defensive round. Just got to do that one more time, right? So like they're both probably, like, both teams are in the mind that they can win this, and that's probably the best position you can be in. Neither of these two should feel like they're about to drop this game. Been a really fascinating match, really well played from both teams. Really probably highlighted that they are indeed on the same level. If I said coming into this that Donuts were maybe one ring, one step above Exist, I might retract that now and say they're about basically the same. Game has played out that way. Back and forth, 7-7, 15th round we go. And it's Tea Room Karaoke to finalize things. Rightfully so. And probably expect this one to take a little bit of time to get going. Unless Donuts want to try and get a bit of drums control, it probably will be through Geisha. Probably will take some time off the clock.
Well, I haven't reinforced single wall here inside of Geisha, despite reinforcements being used elsewhere, so it's certainly a risky strategy. Trades going out though. A full versus 3. DD control over towards top black already. Rento as well, pressuring Geisha. Kawau top main. Exist under a lot of pressure at the midway point of this round.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I think Exist got caught a little bit napping, and so did I. I thought this was going to be a bit more of a slow burn. And that's probably the best way to think then, is to think about maybe what your opponents are probably anticipating. If they're anticipating a slow approach, then go fast, hit them fast. This is a beautiful attack from Donuts. Kayu's in. No one's aware of it. That diffuser goes down, and Exist at this point are panicking. Now suddenly there's 40 seconds on the clock to salvage this. What do you even do? Shifty's looking at the floor. It's not going to save you. Kawau's got stairs. Control. You can spot the feet. He's a little bit slow to react though. The timing from Vibor is impeccable, but they've got to move really quickly. There's no time to hold angles. There's no time to wait for peaks. You have to make plays. DD wins out. Marvy falls. He's been so good this game, but he can't clutch up for Exist. It's only Vibor and Shifty. On the rappel is Kayu, and at any point, he can just surely win this round for his team.
Oh, wait.
Shifty.
Wait.
Well, he was close to defusing that. So close. But they had the rappel, guys. They had the rappel the whole way through. Donuts win. An absolute nail biter right down to the final seconds. 8-7. It is deja vu at the end. It is just like that Scars Northeption game. What a match. What a finish. And it's a big result. 2 points. It's not the 3 that they would have been after, guys, but I'll take the 2.
Yeah, wow. And really coming down to the bitter end there, but Varrel finding an opportunity, seizing upon it in that 15th round. And yeah, I am surprised at just how close that game was. Obviously, we expected it to be close, but again, 15th round, always difficult to predict that. And